Eggwanga lya Tanzania we lyamala okulonda ennaku z'omwezi nga 29 mu lukujjukujju balangirira Samia Suluhu nga omuwanguzi. Ekibiina ekitwala amawanga ga Africa gonna ekimanyikibwa ng'ekya AU, African Union, nga kiyita mu mukulembeze waakyo kyava ne kiwandiika ebbaluwa nga nayo eyozaayoza Samia Suluhu. Just a few days nga bakamala okuyozaayoza Paul Biya, baddamu ne bayozaayoza Samia Suluhu. Abatanzania okuva ebule n'ebweya batandise dda okubatikana n'omulimu ogw'okudemonstratinga mu buli nsi. Twalabyeko Abawadde Netherlands nga bademonstratinga. Now, African Union eyina olukiiko olufuzi era olukiiko olwo lutuulako abakulembeze okuva mu mawanga ag'enjawulo. Muno mu Uganda we are so glad tuyina representative waffe ku olwo olukiiko ate nga munnakibiina kya National Unity Platform. NUP we bagisindikira, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu we bamusindikira invitation nti twagala tuweeyo omuntu omu atula ku lukiiko olwo, yabaweereza omukulu amanyikibwa nga Patrick Nsamba Oshabe. Oyo nno mubaka w'eyo Mubende Kasanda. Era abantu b'e Mubende njagala mugende mu comment section mugambe ndi Mubende jju. Omwami oyo yatunuza ssentebe oba president w'akakiiko ka EU ebitege. Yamukunyiza, yamulabisizza, n'amugamba otandika otya okuyozaayoza Samia Suluhu ng'okimanya akalulu ke kaabaddemu okufa kw'abantu abasukka mu 700. Era olwamaze omuteekamu eyo embeera, omukulu yagenze n'addamu n'akutiza ekipapula ekirala ng'avumirira akalulu k'e Tanzania. Njagala olabe Oshabe kye yakoze. Era gw'oba okirabye, kino kigenda kuwa oba kigenda kulaga we tulaga NUP eyimiridde etya mu kalulu kaayo. Ebikonge yabisimba dda. Because akalulu k'e Tanzania we kagowe kati, abaasooka okukavumirira yali European Parliament. European Parliament Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine alabiddwayo enfunda eziwera ng'ali mu different meetings engaging with those people. Kyemmanyi abadde tayingaginga ku bya ttaka ly'e Busaabala, abadde tayingaginga ku school fees wa Solomon, abadde ali ku nsonga z'Abannayuganda. Ozze omulaba nga traveling to different countries, bye bino yabaddeko. Kikirize kigaana akalulu akaggwa bakayisa mu kamoli lwa nsonga National Unity Platform yali teyeetegese. Ekibiina kibadde n'emyaka almost 5 nga bali mu tteekateeka, bali mufuna different allies, bali mufuna obukodo obupya, bali mu kubangulwa butya bagenda okweŋŋanga akalulu kano. Kati suubira nti kagenda kubeeramu okubba newankubadde nga tugamba kagenda beera ka protest vote. Kati njagala owuliriza Oshabe kyakoze omukungu wa African Union eyabadde yeebuza amagezi, yamutadde mu line. Njagala owulirize era njagala ogambe nti Kyagulanyi jju.
Mr. President, I want to reiterate my demand that all these beautiful submissions would have been made a lot of meaning if we had the Peace and Security Council representative here, if we would have had the head of the Department of Peace and Security at AUC, so that we talk at home, when we talk, the ministers are there to respond. Unfortunately, it looks like we are talking to ourselves, yet there are organizations in the AUC that must be accounting. Mr. President, at such a forum, we would be receiving answers, we would be asking questions, and we would be receiving accountability on what the AU is doing about the promises we made to the people of Africa. Mr. President, there was silencing of the gun. It was a big promise. We want AU to come here, account to the people of Africa what happened to the promise that AU is working on silencing the guns. We want them to come here and account for every war that is going on in Africa. What is the problem? What are they doing about it? Which efforts have been put up, Mr. President? Mr. President, we should also appreciate that absence of war does not mean peace. And this is an old adage that we are experiencing situations in countries where you expected no war, there is no war, but tomorrow a country like Tanzania erupts into something different. Madagascar erupts into something else. We need African Union to come and speak to the members of this house and tell us. One colleague here, Honorable Muhammad Bangura, talked about the early warning signs. What is AU doing? There are early warning signs that shows that this country A might boil into a big conflict. And these early warning signs are known, we know them, and we really need to come up and say, what is the state of human rights abuse? Mr. President, we are coming from countries where human rights are abused every day. People in the opposition, people with different opinions about governance are treated as criminals on the continent. We need AU to tell us what are they doing about it, what are they talking about it, what we should do about it, what can we tell them as the solutions, so that we create a synergy that probably can yield into something to the people of Africa. Mr. President, every day we are witnessing a sham election on the continent. Can't this be avoided? Can we really continue to be here when every other day the people of Africa are erupting because of a sham election and elections are still going on? What are we doing about it? I need to hear from those responsible for managing the continent of Africa to see what is there to be done. Mr. President, there is silencing of dissent across the continent. Everywhere you go, it's as if the governments in Africa were told that the job you're supposed to do is not to build a country, that your job is to keep yourself in power. So every leader is working on ensuring that they are silencing the dissent. That is very unfortunate. And we really need to be honest as we talk about these matters. Mr. President, there is a talk about the Gen Zs of the continent. But the young people on this continent, they have nowhere to appeal to. They are jobless. There are no jobs for them. The governments are embedded in stealing the little finances. There is a lot of corruption on the continent. These are the signs that build and boils into what is going on. The Gen Z is coming up to say enough is enough. Mr. President, across the continent, governments are using state institutions that would have protected the people against the people. The armies are used, Mr. President, against the people, yet the army is supposed to protect the people of that nation. We must be honest to ourselves, and we must talk about this. And we say, if you have a state institution like Parliament of a country, why would it be used to create laws that protect one government instead of coming up with laws that help the nation to grow? Mr. President, as I conclude, I think, and we must be honest as we sit here, we always come up with model laws, but I plead with this Parliament, at least a discussion must come on the standards that must be known for the African continent. When we talk about democracy, what do we mean what do we mean by democracy for the continent of Africa? When we talk about elections, what do we mean? Which standards are there? Why would we have elections observers in one country and we don't have them in another country? Why would election observers be chased out of one country and they're left in the other? So the standards and recommendation must come from this House. Mr. President, lastly, allow me present to this House a member of this House who is unfortunately, she's not here, Honorable Anatropia from Tanzania. She sent this message, Mr. President, having read what AUC chairperson wrote after their election. Mr. President, allow me. She said, it is a big embarrassment reading from the chairman of the AUC. It's now that the internet has been restored in Tanzania since 29th October. We were blocked up in mandatory day and night curfew. Numbers of Gen Z's demonstrators killed and unaccounted for. The voter turnout was less than 30%. The voting centers were smashed in the morning of the election day. In short, we didn't have an election. As for my party, Chadema, we were not allowed to participate since we had called for electoral reform. The current one favors the ruling party, whereby the president appoints everybody. One among the members of the commission served as CCM party strategist. The call for such reform resulted in treason charges for our chairman, Tundu Lissu. Therefore, personally, I didn't run for parliamentary seat because of the same reasons. I take this opportunity to thank you all for the opportunity of working together for the people of the continent. However, Tanzanians and the continent needs your voice in telling the truth. Democracy in turmoil, power by the bar of the gun, impunity, abduction, silencing dissent for decorative peace. Africa needs you now, perhaps with more than any other time. The dictators have now resorted into criminalizing politics, jailing us for unbearable offenses, which are not convinced results into death penalty. I thank each and everyone who tried to reach out to me during the trying moments in Tanzania. I'm fine together with my family, but with a number of friends and relatives missing and some still held up in custody. Pray for us that we can get back to normality. See you in the coming years. Mr. President, I needed, because this was our colleague who we're sitting with here, I needed her message to come through to this forum so that we know that these things are not easy. Mr. President, we are up for elections in Uganda coming January, but the army is already on the streets showing us that they are not ready for what the masses will decide. And these are the facts that should come out. These are the issues that we must take note about. And our leaders, this what we call AU, must make meaning when our leaders respect it. And they know that there is a big boss called African Union. As long as African Union will remain silent when issues are going on, we will witness more wars, we will witness more impunity, we will witness so many bad things happening to the people of Africa. Thank you so much for the time.
You know, because when we are saying very soon.
Mr. President, I want to retaliate.
All right. Oyo ye mukiise eyakiikiridde Uganda mu lukiiko lwa African Union olwatadde pulezidenti wa African Union ku nninga oluvannyuma lw'okuvaayo n'ayozaayoza Samia Suluhu mu kalulu ensi yonna kemanyi nti tekaabadde ka mazima n'obwenkanya. Oyo nonno munnakibiina kya National Unity Platform wabula ate n'akaba na Uganda takeerabidde akayisizzaawo n'ategeeza African Union gye tumanyi nti ebadde emanyiddwa nnyo n'okuyimirira ne badikiteeta. Nze nagamba revolution eno eya Africa mujja kikiriza mu kigaani tugenda tuka ekiseera nga nabo bakkiriza Kyagulanyi yagikulembera. Trust me. kubanga engeri gyakwatamu ebintu bye n'abakulembeze ba National Unity Platform, the system is very mature ate nga yakubala nnyo. Oshabe atadde akakiiko ku nninga. Eno video yakwatibwa ennaku 3 emabega. Olunaku lwa leero African Union ekoze ebbaluwa endala ng'egamba bannaaye akalulu k'e Tanzania tekaali ka mazima na bwenkanya. Paalamenti ya Europe yavaayo n'ekyogera ku lunaku lwennyini we baamala okulonda. Donald Trump yawadde Samia Suluhu nsalessale wa ssaawa 72 72 hours ng'atadde tambuza video.